Hey Alpha fam, welcome back to another episode of Alpha Commission. Today on Alpha Commission, of course, we're going to go over that pump and then the pullback on the BTC chart, guys. Of course, altcoins have just been pumping like crazy recently. It's been a little bit of hit and miss, and so you had to be in the right asset. If you do want some advice about what coins may have good setups, please feel free to visit the Discord where we do have our discussion group. The link to that is in the description of the video below. Guys, you can see that coins are pulling back, and that is because BTC has hit some resistance over here, right around this threshold, right over here, around 38,000. Now, since we were down at 15.5K, and then we did take a chance at that 16K and that 17K area, the Alpha Fam has been saying that there was a good likelihood that we could push up to that 38 to $42,000 area, and that's exactly what we did. Now we did hit that overhead resistance at 30K, and you can see the amount of resistance right here is very similar to the amount of resistance that we're going to be facing in this area over here. So if we do take our sweet time to move past this area, we could still be bullish, but maybe it just takes some time to break through that resistance like we had to face at 30K. So as we push up higher, these resistances are just going to get more plentiful, and you can see that we had nice vertical lines over here that allowed us to basically pump with pretty good ease. But now we're just getting all of this kind of junk over here. And if we want to make all-time highs or kind of push up through this area, it's just a little bit harder. Those big players are going to be taking a lot more profit. And that's why I suggested that we're likely to be entering consolidation soon. Now, on the daily basis, we've already done that, but we haven't seen that on the weekly basis. Currently, we are on the weekly chart. I just want to remind you guys that as long as we're above the Bollinger Band midline, we are in a bull market, bull market, bull market. And yes, you can have little fake outs, but it's not really until you get embedded underneath that Bollinger Band midline that you enter the bear market. Bear market, kind of a little fake out, right? Just like we had over there. But, we really wouldn't be looking for a return to the bear market unless we got under that Bollinger Band midline, somewhere around 29,500, in which case we could be saying, yeah, maybe we're going to have a deeper retracement, maybe to 25K, maybe 23K, that kind of area, or maybe that 18 to a 20K area. Those are all on the table. I don't necessarily see us putting in new macro lows. We can go over that should we end up getting there. But right now you can see that we're just flying a little bit high above the Bollinger Band midline. And usually when we do that, we do have a little bit of a pullback, right? A pullback, a pullback, a pullback. And so sooner or later, especially as we start bumping our head on this resistance, we're going to get that pullback. And that's what I really mean by the consolidation. I don't mean the sideways stuff on the daily basis. I mean these weekly consolidations, okay, that take, a couple months to kind of get through. And, while we can just skyrocket under the right conditions, it's not usually when we have all this resistance over our head. And so this still seems more likely to me than this in the current moment. This might be what we're looking forward to in 2024, but through the end of the year, I would expect this to be a little bit more of a grind than some of these guys who are just entering the market right now are expecting due to FOMO. And while a lot of the altcoins were very oversold, and thus we're seeing just incredible pumps off of their low. It's very similar to what happened to BTC down here, where they just got that initial pump, and then they're going to be starting to hit a lot of resistance themselves. And so, it does get quite trickier in this area. And then we have to understand, does the overall market stay healthy, or do we have something, that could have a deeper pullback, or is it just going to be one of these kind of nothing burgers kind of shakeouts before we just continue to grind? Again, I am looking forward to that as an opportunity to get, more into the market. But at the same time, we have to understand that we are in an uptrend, and that we haven't violated this uptrend at all. In fact, we've now made a new higher high. And so if we just make a higher low, that would suggest just bullish continuation. So really, again, we're entering that tricky part of the market. It's no longer that we were at the easy pickings area, right? We had like one chance and then we had two chances for that. And the market doesn't usually give you two great chances. They're going to do something tricky around that time, right? It's just not like a smorgasbord where everyone gets a free lunch. In order for there to be winners in trading, there has to be losers. Guys, we can go ahead and just take a look on the daily basis. And then let's jump down from there, from the weekly. And you can see that, of course, we do have all of this chop that does pull back, after we kind of shoot up. And there is a very typical pattern here. If I go ahead and just put on a little bit of a fractal, you can see that the area of consolidation does tend to take up this amount of space inside of this circle that I drew. And then sometimes we have a second drive, just a second wave to the upside, which then creates a bearish divergence on a bigger time scale like the weekly. And that's what we end up coming down off of. Here you can see we didn't really get that one. And here you can see that we are kind of shooting up a little bit higher than we did in this neighborhood, although this one did it first. This one didn't do it. This one did it a little bit. So all of these have their own unique little flavor to it. But ultimately, and I hope you guys are following and can see the price action here, you can see that it's pretty much contained within that circle before the next move is made, right? And so even though they all have their own flavor, do we just come back down here? And then that's going to be the moment where we decide, do we pop up or do we go down like this, right? Do we pop up, right, like this, or do we go down like this? And so we don't know which direction this is going to take. Again, this is just consolidation. And what do I mean by that? Up, down, up, down, up, down, right? It's just consolidating. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, right? It just took longer here in this case. And then this one, up, down, up, down, up, down, way down, right? Up, down, up, just sideways, right? Just going sideways for a very long time. And you can see that these are kind of lengthening as we go out. So if we take a projection off of that, you could see that this consolidation area, just assuming that we do have kind of a very similar path to this one right here, it could take all the way until the beginning of 2024, maybe even into February, before the market decides to either pop, up, which is what I would probably expect, or for it to drop significantly down, just as this chart essentially could just consolidate in a kind of wild fashion, right? Even freaking people out, making them extremely greedy. It could do all sorts of things just in this consolidation phase before we have like a really big move, which is what everyone is going to be looking for. Now, that's kind of the long path there. And then, of course, we also have a history that shows that there could be a shorter path, which is right here. And so if we do just take a look at that one suggests that we could, make that move, in perhaps December, right? Mid-December. And if that was the case, well, we don't know what companies and people might be doing for tax purposes. And so there does increase a risk of a sell-off before the beginning of the new year. When we would basically enter a new tax period, right? So yeah, guys, just understand that there's some nuance to what's playing out here, and that it may be more than meets the eye. So if you got super bullish just because we had a little bit of a pop-up today, just keep yourself grounded and understand that we may be still in a consolidation period, as I discussed in the last video. Now let's go ahead and just put some numbers to this chart. First of all, I do want to just remind you of what we were looking at in the last episode. And in the last episode, essentially what I was saying was that as long as we keep above the volatility pivot, and if we recapture the hold momentum line, then this chart is just going to continue to be bullish, okay? Most likely that Bollinger Band midline on the daily was going to catch up with us. Now, had we lost the volatility pivot, and if we had lost this momentum pool, then most likely price action would try to drop down to catch up with the Bollinger Band at a lower place. And the first target would have been that bullish control zone. As you can see, we've just been firmly in the bullish control zone above that area. We've also been above general continuation. We've been above that volatility pivot. And so volatility has been in our favor. And that's why we had this kind of, volatile action that's just been kind of spiking up. We've been above the pool, above the volatility pivot, and that's bullish. Okay, so guys, this theory is working. You really wouldn't have wanted to short or do anything too crazy unless we got below that pool and probably lost that general continuation. And you might even just wait until we lost to the bullish control zone, because technically we were still bullish above that area. But fast forward, it's been a little while, and so we are going to just update these levels for your perception. And as you can see here, we don't really have much of a pool now because of how volatile this chart has actually been to the upside. Normally consolidation should be a little bit more sideways, but as you can see, we're having this weekly volatility play out. And so the pool is saying, well, above 35,640, we're just maintaining where we are. And the volatility pivot is saying, unless you can break past 37,345 on a closing basis, then your bias is down in this consolidation. Okay, so we may just end up pushing back down, and then it's going to be just a matter of, do we hold the pool or not? If we lose the pool, then we could come down and retest the bullish control zone, which currently lies around 34,337. Now you can see that the daily Bollinger Band midline is rising up to meet that bullish control zone. And so if we come back like this and just kind of bounce off both of those things, the bullish control zone and the Bollinger Band midline, then we could just maintain our bullishness potentially, right? And maybe make another drive and then, do something crazy later maybe, okay? And again, we'll have to take a look at that at a later date. But this is what I would be looking at the current moment, because we're going to essentially have 2 points of support right under us if we do lose this current pool, which is between the green lines, which are almost overlapping today. So there's almost no pool. It's just like a thin line. And we're going to lose the pool at 35,569. We're going to be above 35,639. So that's really the line in the sand that we're dealing with. And again, anything under the volatility pivot at 37,345 is going to be biased to the downside on the daily. Now that volatility pivot will come down over time, but currently it is above our head working against us. Of course, in our favor is that we are in the bullish control zone above 34,337, and then also above the neutral point of control at 32,871. So if we do lose the bullish control zone, we could pop down to the neutral point of control. No harm, no foul. Maybe get a wick down here to this big alpha energy or the bearish control zone just to prove that we're not bearish. After all of this bullishness, the market may just want kind of a retest, and that would be somewhere around $31,000 to $30,000. And then you don't want to lose that area, because on a daily basis, we'll get trapped in the bearish control zone, and that could have the consequence of bringing us much further down. But that's neither here nor there. At the current moment, we are just we're just continuing to be bullish with just some volatility resistance as we have pushed up here and are getting a little bit of rejection off of resistance. Guys, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. That pretty much covers everything that I wanted to talk about. Don't be too greedy after a push like this, and just remember to take your profit, because eventually markets will want to shake people out, and whether it's right here or whether we pop up to 42,000 and then get a shakeout or something, right? It's going to happen. So don't forget to pay yourself and put a little bit of money in your pocket, put food on your table, and don't just be loyal to these coins, because these coins absolutely will not be loyal to you. That's your alpha for the day. Stay safe and happy trading.